You're listening to the One Step Deeper podcast with your host, Jimmy Moore and Brittany Davis. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.
A family member dying on hospice right now, and that's, we're talking days at this point, and that's really freaking hard.
Mr. Chris left us Thursday night, and initially, obviously, lots of tears to finally hear the news. And then yesterday was weird. It was so weird to live in a world where he's not here. I had some errands to run, and it just felt weird all day. And yesterday evening, I got to spend quite a few hours with his wife and just talking with her, and we laughed and we had some tears, and we cried the silliest things, but we laughed over everything. And we'll be headed over there again today with the girls, and viewing on Sunday, funeral on Monday. So I really only got teared up one time, and it's so funny because we were talking about intimate details of all the things, and I was cool, and then I had eaten something and I needed some digestive enzymes, and I didn't bring mine, and I took the same ones that he did, and he had like this jar that sits on the table, and it's been there for years. Every time I ever went over, he had this container of digestive enzymes on the table, and I needed some, and she's like, take you some, and I was like, no. And so I lost it over digestive enzymes. Grief is very funny, because like all the other stuff, you think I would be crying, but no, over digestive enzymes.
Have you guys tried the Paleo Valley beef sticks? These beef sticks are 100% grass-fed and grass-finished, and many of the grass-fed beef sticks on the market today are actually finished with grains. They use beef sourced from small domestic farms in the United States. They only use real organic spices to flavor the beef sticks versus all the conventional spices sprayed with pesticides and other natural flavors from GMO. They also ferment the sticks, which creates naturally occurring probiotics, all great for your gut health, and best of all, they taste amazing. Again, they're Paleo Valley, my favorite beef stick on the market today. Go check them out, you guys. PaleoValley.com. Use the coupon code Jimmy at checkout for 15% off your first order. Paleo Valley beef sticks. Never a dull moment for Rebecca Farmer, is it? Nope. Well, I'm glad you were able to come on One Step Deeper podcast as a guest co-host today. So we're just going to get rolling here. Guys, this is my friend Rebecca Farmer. As you guys know, Brittany, as I said at the beginning, is out. She lost that family member she talked about on last week's episode. And I'm like, look, Brittany, you're in no headspace to be doing a mindset podcast with me. So why don't you take a week off? I know some people, and the first person I thought of was this lady right here, because people know you, Rebecca. And by the way, she's over on Instagram. Go follow Tailored Keto Health is her username over there. But they know you for your remarkable health journey. But you got a lot of mindset stuff that kind of developed along the way that you're still in development on, and it kind of is going to dictate what we talk about in today's episode. So this is episode 24 of the One Step Deeper podcast, Grace Over Perfection for Empowerment. And it's going to be a little bit different because she's not Brittany, and that's okay. We don't want her to be Brittany, but we want her to be fully Rebecca. And you're going to love Rebecca as much as I do after today's episode. But onestepdeeperpodcast.com is the website. Go check us out over there. See all the past episodes. We do premiere this on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword, One Step Deeper. You'll find the show. It's also a podcast that airs on Mondays. All the usual suspects, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Alexa. Have to spell it out, Rebecca, because it makes everybody's one go off.
I mean, it's all over the place, and it's awesome. I want people to check it out. It's so good.
And then on social media, we're on One Step Deeper on both Facebook and Instagram. And we also throw the video up everywhere. If you can't find this show, it's your fault because I put it up all over the place. So definitely go enjoy it. But I'm really happy to have you here today. You've been a good friend of mine. And I'm like, mindset is one of those things people don't really get a grasp on. They're just meandering through life without any principles, without really anything guiding them. And I know you're a strong woman of faith, and you infuse that into every part of your life as any Christian would. And so why don't you tell us a little bit of your story in terms of your mindset shift? A lot of people might know your physical story and then go look you up and listen to my previous podcasts with you. But tell us about this mindset journey. How did you get to where you are today before we get into the topic?
I mean, it was through trials. It was through being pressed and crushed. And when we're crushed, what comes out of us is what resides in our hearts. So for a while there, it was ugly stuff coming out. And it was like, man, I've got ugly fruit. Something needs to change. And God really broke me down with everything that I went through. And when you get so desperate, you don't have a choice but to believe and to surrender. And so in a nutshell, that's how I got to where I am, is by surrender, finally laying down control. And that means everything. And it means entrusting God. And so for most of my life, I grew up in a Christian home. And, I would pray to God, especially when I needed help or I was not feeling well. But I never relied on him. I never set aside time to really spend with him other than youth group, and there was no intimate relationship. Though I heard that term and I wanted it, it was not there. And it didn't happen until I needed it. And that makes me sound like a very selfish person because I am a selfish person. I think we all are.
It's typical, though. Most people live their lives of, I don't need God until I need God.
Right. Yeah. And so that's how I got here, is by true surrender. With my health, I was on my deathbed and I was out of options. And
people that don't know Rebecca, because I know you told your story a million times. Sometimes you forget. Not everybody's heard it. So her deathbed means she was under 70 pounds as an adult woman. She was dealing with double-digit health problems and autoimmune issues and Lyme disease. And if it's a disease, I think you had it. So
probably.
Yeah, and you still deal with some of the ramifications, even tinges of it here and there. And so I just don't want to gloss that over. That
no, I just don't want to take all the time. But I was being told that I needed to be hooked up to a feeding tube and to remove my colon. And there was I felt like there was no hope. And I wasn't even in contact with my own family. They had cut me off. I was escaping homelessness at the time. I was kind of like, no, keep me in this emergency room. I can't go back to that abusive person. And then they told me that. And that was the moment that God kind of twisted my arm. And he said, you've got to change this. Without going into too much detail, he revealed something huge in my life that I had to surrender, that had become an idol. And it was not necessarily this thing that was bad. It was the fact that I was controlling it, that I was unwilling to change.
Yeah.
And that moment of surrender allowed me to receive his grace for the first time in my life.
Can I tell you, though, that a lot of people get to that point, Rebecca, and they make the choice that you made, and they find faith, and they get peace and comfort in that moment. But not everybody. There's some people that when adversity hits, they don't think of grace. They think of anger and rage, and they go the complete opposite direction. Why do you think people don't choose grace and instead try to seek their own path? Now, I know the answer you're going to probably give will be clouded a little bit. Well, we have a sinful nature and we're going to go down that path because that's what's natural to us. But there's got to be a little more to it than that.
I think it's power, and control is the main thing that I would say is control. To me, my entire life has been my coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And I think that's natural too, especially when so much of life is chaotic. You want to at least control one thing. This is how many eating disorders manifest.
Yes.
So I think that's a big part of it. What would you say?
Well, yeah. And I would say that people, they lose sight of something bigger than themselves. I think sometimes people, they can't conceptualize God or having faith in something because they feel self-sufficient. And I guess it does go back to the sinful nature somewhat, but when you don't think you need a savior is when you need him more than any time. And I don't want to make too overly religious in today's episode, but I think it matters that we talk about this because this is the point where people choose perfection and choose to be, everything has to be in control and here, versus when you give it to grace, you can let go of some of that. You can be okay. My co-host on this show is Brittany. She's the first to admit, and she does often on the show, I'm a perfect, like, hurts me to hear you like not even like accept a compliment that's legit because that perfectionism doesn't let you go there.
So the next one of the motivations that I wrote down, because I was like, oh my gosh, Jimmy's going to call me out, is they want to be beyond criticism so that no one condemns them. So they're so hyper perfectionist within themselves that they don't want to give anybody else an inkling, a tiny little bit of anything to be able to condemn them. Does me.
A lot of it was a coping mechanism because it was instilled in her when she was a kid that if she didn't get straight 100s on her report card, she was bad. She told the story many times that she had all 197 and she got punished for getting 97 and not 100. Yes. So no, a 28-year-old adult, she's just got this perfectionist mindset. And I'm often telling her, I'm like, purposely flub up on this podcast because I want you to feel that it's okay to not.
Totally. Yeah. And grace means not only are our weaknesses covered, grace is not mercy. I think a lot of people confuse mercy with grace. Grace actually means it's like stealing money and going to the judge and he says, you're innocent. And then he gives you money. That's what grace is like. Mercy is like, okay, we're going to let you off. Grace is like, I've got you, like double. And I think it's hard for people to wrap their heads around what that really means too, because of what you just said. It has to do with something greater than yourself. It's something beyond what you can do. And that's the best part of it. It has nothing to do with me. And I don't have to, and that takes away the pressure.
Let's dig into control and perfection and why people go there. Because I think on a conscious level, when we kind of think through what that is, when you realize what it is, why would you ever do it? Like almost always, people trying to be perfect, people trying to be in control like you were, and I've done the same thing in my past, we all have. It's because you feel powerless without it. Like you feel like you need those things to be, or to have the power in your life to do what you want to do and need to do in your life. Whereas they don't think about, if you just let those things go, the true power begins.
Yeah. I think that as humans, we want to fix things. So when things aren't, I can think mostly of like medical situations. Especially I work with people with medical issues, and it's very hard. It was hard for me and for them to, not spend all of your time with Dr. Google and trying to figure things out, because you almost feel like it's your responsibility. That just comes right back to, if you feel like you're alone in life, and yes, we are responsible for everything that we do, but there's so much more to it. And surrendering, being able to lay it all down and just say, I'm going to do my best, and that's all I can do, and the rest is up to God. That's hard. That's pretty radical. Like, it's one thing to say it, and we say it all the time. Like, I said it all the time in youth group growing up. We trust you, God, with this situation. But then what do? We go home and we worry about it, and we idolize it, and we just revolve our entire lives around it. So that's the big change that's happened in me, is I refuse to enable the enemy to steal my joy and to steal my life and my peace, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I think that's the way it should be. Grace is something that we have to receive every day. And that's the other hard part, is not having like a plan set out in front of us, not knowing how things are going to go. We would really like to think we could just look at our lives and say, this is the diet that I'm going to follow, this is the protocol that I'll do, but it doesn't work that way, because that doesn't require any trust from our Creator, and that's what He wants. He wants us to rely on Him. He created us. So there's so much to it.
So I'm a acronyms guy. So you got my brain flowing with juices. So Grace, getting rid of all control every day.
I love it. That's perfect. Did you just come up with that?
I just made that up.
I love it. That's so awesome.
By the way, she mentioned clients. She is a health coach, guys. Go over to Tailored Keto Health over on Instagram. And you stay busy. Every time you and I like chit chat, you're like, oh, got another client. Talk to you later. And on Instagram, I'm like, yep, she's a busy girl. And in fact, you've got a call as soon as this is over. So you never a dull moment for her. But if you've dealt with any kind of health issue, weight issue, and you need some help, this is a great coach for you. You personally eat a carnivore diet and nutrient dense, and you're always talking about Billy Doe meats and all the things you do. And it's wonderful what you do in your work, but you're not a carnivore. You must eat carnivore for all your clients. Right. So go check her out, you guys. She'll definitely help you out if you need some help with your health. But today we're talking about mindset and mental health. That need for perfection, though, that is the bugaboo for so many people. And it's a fight if you dealt with what Brittany dealt with. I'm glad I never had that pressure. I had other pressures, but not that one, that you had to be perfect. Why would we even want to have that idealization? Even girls looking and scrolling through Instagram. Oh my gosh, I would love to look like her, but I've lost 100 pounds and I still have little jiggle in the middle. It's like, why do we like the comparison game? Like, perfection, it should only compare you to you, and you're pretty remarkable.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people say, like, I love you despite your weaknesses, I still love you. I hear people say that, but to me, love is loving someone for their imperfections. Like, you are drawn to them, you love the heck out of their imperfections. That's what makes us unique. Totally. Perfection it's such a stealer of peace and joy, like I said before, but it's so unrealistic. There's no one who's perfect. There's no normal. We're all weird.
So, some of us more than others, Rebecca, but yes.
True.
An impossible standard to live up to. That's the thing. If people got in their heads that perfection and control is impossible, then you would never even try. Now, people go the other end and they just think everything about life is horrible and everything's falling apart and woe is me. And Brittany and I have talked about that quite a bit on this show of you can take it to both ends, and there is this healthy balance in the middle where grace can do its job of handling that control and perfection tendency. And then when it takes over, you feel stronger and more empowered to do the things that you're meant to do and called to do in your life.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Grace enables us to do the things. I mean, there's nothing that we can do to earn grace. Grace is there so that we can do the things, so that we can use our critical thinking. Because there is no critical thinking with perfectionism. Doesn't happen. You cannot evolve and become who you were created to be if you're constantly focused on this idea that you made up in your own mind and you're comparing yourself to someone else. It doesn't happen. And it really holds people back. It held me back for a long time. It just stole my personality. And I think it also can manifest into a lot of mood disorders, false guilt and shame. It's such a tool of the enemy, I feel like. And God's grace is sufficient for it all. And I think it's also a matter of pride sometimes too, is being able to surrender that control, because sometimes it's scary. But it's worth it. It's always worth it.
Totally worth it. And yet people will live in that misery. And they'll just stay there. And I think at some point they know something's wrong, but they haven't found the answer, whichever way they decide to go. I just feel like they stay stuck in a malaise of their own choice. And with the answer really there, they're just not really grasping it or saying, well, there's got to be more to it than that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of these issues that I'm really glad we're talking about this today, because, and I feel like you're uniquely qualified with all that you've overcome in your life. I feel like people just need to know they can step out of that and not feel like they have to control everything. And we all know those control freaks in our lives. Like, we know those people that one little thing gets out of whack and they're just like, ah! And so, man, how do you broach that subject? Because I'm sure you have clients that come to you, and I don't want you to reveal any details of clients, but that come to you and they're like that. And you're like, all right, I need to reach them and let them know that might be why they're dealing with X health condition, weight problem, whatever it is they're dealing with. That could be their hindrance and they don't even know it. How do you broach that with somebody when you notice it?
I used to be very delicate. When I went to school, When I went to school for becoming a health and life coach, most of what I learned was becoming a life coach and how to ask the right questions, which was really cool. So I used to approach it where, say, I hear you saying this. How would you feel if this? Things like that, to kind of help them to arrive to their own answer that they already know. But now, when I see that stealing so much from someone, I get defensive of that human being, because it makes me angry.
Yeah.
That the enemy is getting away with it. It's like, this beautiful person is wasting their life fretting about things that don't exist.
Yes.
And literally manifesting more issues. So I'm not as delicate anymore. And I think people need that. I've only had good feedback. It's usually very emotional, and I'll just say, this is an idol in your life.
Yes.
And, and usually they'll come out and say, yeah, you know what? This was an idol in my marriage, and this stole so many years when I was trying to get pregnant, and just so many situations. And like I said, it becomes very emotional, and I hold space for that emotion, because it's like grieving for the time lost, and it's grieving for the fact that you're still bound by this addiction. It's an addiction. and it has to be surrendered. So that's when I'll just go right into deliverance. Like, we need to rebuke this, and we need to start renewing your mind, change your thoughts, change the way you speak, change your habits, put a timer on your phone, do something about it, because everything in you is going to be drawn to it. And it's very hard, well, it's scary. And yeah, but what's even scarier is you just wishing your life away and manifesting some of these issues. I mean, really speaking them into existence. So yeah, I'm not as delicate.
Well, and one of the cool things that bonds me and Brittany so strongly, she's my best friend. And one of the things that bonds us is we're blunt with each other about things. Like, I've been going through a pretty difficult circumstance the past year and a half. You know about it. She knows about it, a few others, but not many. And so I would express things in a certain way, and she'd be like, no, sir, we're not doing that today. And she'll call me out, and I'll do the same with her with various things as well. It's beautiful when you have those kind of people in your life that they care about you enough that they're okay rebuking you when you feel like you're in the good place, but you're not really in a good place.
Yeah. And it can be frustrating, but it's like, I need that. I have a friend like that too. And it's like, when I first start talking, it's like, why do I even talk to you? Like, I can't even get 10 words out without you correcting me. But it's like, that's why I always want to talk to them, because they have that ability to just see right through it. And they always show me something about myself that I could never have guessed.
Why don't humans do that more often? It seems to me we would help each other more. Is it because we fear losing friendships or relationships? Is it because people, well, if I say these things to them, they'll judge me for something? Like, what's the fear?
I think we're people pleasers. I think it has to do with the whole perfectionism charade. We're all looking at, what do other people think of me? And if you're blunt with someone, they may not take it the right way, and they may say something to someone else, and it might ruin your reputation. But who cares what people think? I mean, as long as you're speaking the truth in love, I'm not saying we should be rude to people, and we're not talking about like saying mean things that are unnecessary. We are speaking the truth in love to encourage one another and build each other up. But that doesn't mean being fake or petty. I can't stand, like, you probably get it all the time. You're in the South, that Southern charm where people are like complimenting you and it's totally fake. That's like that is some kind of evil. That's like another level of wrong.
Anybody that doesn't live in the South, if somebody says bless your heart, they're cussing you out.
Bless his heart.
Once we get married, he won't be watching as much football.
Bless her heart.
Oh, hey, guys. Where y'all? Next time.
Bless his heart. Bless her heart. Oh, come on. Bless his heart.
Bless their hearts.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. So I think too many people are stuck in this people-pleasing mindset.
Yeah.
And they're not concerned enough about being an honest human being with integrity and speaking with truth.
Keto doesn't have to be hard. Just use Keto Chow, the magical meal replacement that makes keto easy. Each delicious shake provides 1/3 of your daily nutrients, meaning it's more than just a snack. It's a complete keto meal.
Wow, I'm full, and I didn't even eat the children.
Yay! With Keto Chow, prep takes seconds. Just add the fat you want, Keto Chow, water, and shake. And before you know it, you'll be getting rid of the fat you don't want.
Ooh.
So if you want the benefit of keto without the hassle, click to order your Keto Chow starter bundle today. You'll get 6 delicious keto meals with our most popular flavors and a free blender bottle. I wish I was free. In this freaking tower.
Soon, darling.
No, wait! Ah! 1 serving of Keto Chow provides you with all the protein, vitamins, and electrolytes your body needs in a meal.
Go to jimmylovesketochow.com to get your keto chow today. Although I will say, and by the way, Rebecca's transformation happened in the worst year of most of our lives. So 2020 was the best year of your life because you went from under 70 pounds. You're in what, 120s, 130 now?
I'm 130, holding at 130.
So you've gained almost doubled your weight in a good way. And you're vibrant, and all those diseases are in remission with like little pop-up things here and there. But for the most part, you've helped yourself. So for most people, though, this last year has been a transformation here. I think now more than ever before, if they haven't already started to kind of break away from the perfection tendency and that need for control and let go to grace, I think we're seeing a revolution of grace happening now, where people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how fragile humanity was. I didn't realize how much I needed people. That's been my thing. I've been missing people bad. Last Saturday, I got to go to a carnivore meetup, and I hugged 200 times. I did 8 last year, 8 for the whole year. I got to hug 200 people just last Saturday. So,
that's so awesome. So good.
People are embracing what we're talking about here now more than ever before, because they realize we need each other in this way. We need to call out, but in loving ways. We need to be there and be the comfort. I mean, you've come to me sometimes with issues you're dealing with, and I've done the same to you through DM. And it's nice when you can have those people you go to. And if you're watching this or listening to this on the podcast right now, and you don't make yourself available to people to be that grace, that cup of cold water on a hot summer's day when they're not doing well and they're kind of stuck in the malaise of perfectionism and control, be that. Like, step out, stop trying to appease the people like we were just talking about, and start being what they need in their life.
Yeah. I think it's helpful to encourage people to be a change agent. I really like that term because it talks about, look, things are going to change and you're the one responsible. And people just need to be encouraged to step into that, because like we talked about, it's scary to do, but nothing changes until you decide it does. And yeah, we just need that push. I know I need that push. I'm accountable, like you said, to you. I reach out to you when I'm struggling. It usually has to do with fasting or something, or, body dysmorphia. I'm accountable to my chiropractor, especially as I'm like reintroducing other foods. If I'm extra stiff or tense or something, like I need to stay on top of my stuff. And if I don't reach out to other people, I can't receive feedback, and I start to isolate, which is another tool of the enemy. Isolation is, we are made for other people. We're created for each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, this whole pandemic I agree that it has reminded people that we need that. I think there are some people who are also realizing that they have a problem because they've been okay the entire time. Like for me, I had just gotten out of, chronic C. diff and all these autoimmune issues. So I was used to being isolated. Even in the ICU, I was in isolation. Yes. I was like, this isn't scary. Why are people panicking? But I realized that's very twisted. And there are a lot of people who isolate themselves.
Yes.
And I think they're realizing, okay, there's something wrong with this picture because everyone else is suffering.
Well, before it was a choice when they isolated. Now it's being thrust on them. And those of us that are socialites struggle badly throughout. I was Zooming and talking. In fact, I think you called me one time on the phone. I've got some good people in my life, is the point, that they appeased me and called me. It wasn't the same as seeing, but it was better than nothing. And having that line to talk to people. So, yeah, I think we're seeing a revolution where people's eyes have opened up that there is more to life than feeling like you're in control. And it goes back to grace again, if you want to apply that.
grace and control cannot coexist.
That's right. And it's very hard, I think, I know for me, until I experienced it, it was hard for me to imagine what grace really looked like. So an example for me would be, like I love to work out. Working out is my therapy.
Well, hold on. She doesn't just love to work out. She's obsessed with work. Go to Tailored Keto Health on Instagram and her stories every single day. She's got this mile-long list of all the lunges and
it looks hard, but it's not. It looks like a lot, but it's not that much. It's like 40 minutes.
It's still inspiring because I see all that and I get exhausted just reading your list of things that you've done. But it's inspiring because, I was just saying, let's don't gloss over. Okay, she loves to work out. No, she's obsessed with work.
Because think of where I'm coming from. I was 69 pounds. I could barely hold my own head up. Yeah. And now I feel so good. I wake up at 5:30 with energy, and I do high intensity training every morning just because it's like, this feels great, but there's a limit for everyone. And this is a lesson that I've learned. And so receiving grace in an interesting way has been certain days where it's like, I'm probably pushing it. And I received grace to walk away from it. As hard as that was for me, and everything in my mind was like, yeah, but you're healed now. You should totally take advantage of that and don't take it for granted. And that lifting heavy increases your insulin sensitivity and your circulation, and just everything is telling me that I should do this because it would be more perfect. But I received grace to say, I don't have to do this. God healed me. I'm well, and I don't have to do this to be well, and I can go sit on my butt and eat an extra serving of fatty lamb and go to bed early, and that doesn't make me any less. That actually makes me stronger, and that builds my character, and that to me takes strength. That's courage. That took a lot of courage for me to do because it's hard. But that's an example of receiving grace in just a regular day-to-day way. And there are so many instances where we can do this. And it's not making excuses. So I'm not talking about, if you have a goal to do 3 workouts a week, I think you should do that. Yeah. But there are situations where we just need to receive grace because it's going against that plan. And that's life.
Well, and plans are made to be broken and changed if circumstances arise. I remember recently you were on a fasting kick. It was when I was going through my 18-day fast, and you're like, all right, you're a crazy one like me. Can I do blah, blah, blah fast? And I'm like, yeah, see how you feel if you start to feel bad. Da, da, da. And you got to the point in the fast where you're like, I really think I need to eat. What do you think? And it was like, give yourself that permission to break some stated goal. My stated goal was 40 days, Rebecca. I was trying to do the Jesus fast going through Easter, and it didn't happen.
You went so far, though. How long did you go? 18? Yep, that's amazing.
Yeah, so, I had the stated goal of 40. I made it 18. I'm not bemoaning that. I got the benefits from it. I felt good throughout it. Stress was the thing that kind of knocked me off course. But that's where you're paying attention, you're listening, you're allowing yourself not to be guided by the goal and the need for control. Oh, I made 40 days. I'm going to grit it out till 40 days. And I think you wanted to go a week on your fast, and you made it something like 3 days or something. And you were starting to feel the effects. You're like, I really need to end it. I'm like, end it. You have my permission. You don't need my permission, but I'm giving you permission. Please end the fast. But we do that to ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, totally. It's because we have this idea of what we want it to be. And without that it's an expectation that we set up. So I think instead of expectations, we should have goals, but it's not wrong to not achieve that goal. It's just something to work towards.
You know what Brittany says? She had this phrase either last week or a couple weeks ago, expectations fuel frustration.
That's so true. 100%. I mean, I don't think we should expect anything of anyone except for God. He's the only one that we can fully count on. That is so good, though. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's get into the empowerment part of this episode. This has been wonderful, by the way. Thank you. I knew you'd bring your
I love it. I'm stoked to start my day like this. It's such a pleasure.
Get into the empowerment aspect, because I want to know how that manifests in Rebecca Farmer's life. What does allowing grace to supersede the perfection and control tendencies to bring you to the place you are now? How do you feel empowered today because of that?
I am making decisions with my own God-given wisdom and critical thinking. So like I said, bring it back to that emergency room. For anyone who is not familiar with me, I had been doing keto for over 15 years. And it really did help with a lot of things, but not everything. And so I had this idea in my head that I was going to do keto forever. And that's when God twisted my arm and he was like, look, this is an idol. And it's true. I was struggling with food addiction by that point.
Yeah.
And so surrendering that and confessing to him, saying, yes, this is an addiction. This is an idol in my life. That was really scary, because it was like saying, here's the one thing that has helped me.
Mm.
But I trust that you're going to help me if I surrender it. And at that moment, it was like, oh my gosh, I can do the carnivore diet and I don't have to do just beef, salt, and water like everyone is saying. I can do the carnivore diet and I don't have to do what anyone in any of these Facebook support groups say, or what Michaela Peterson says, or anyone. I'm just going to use my critical thinking, because I understand the mechanisms about removing anti-nutrients. I understand that my leptin sensitivity is poor because of all these hyper-palatable keto treats. Duh. It's like God was like, here you go. Here's the answer. You already had it, but you have to take the pressure off and look to me, because I was just so narrow-sighted on this idol. And when I surrendered it, it opened up the world of what I could do. And it was empowering, because it was like, I do have the knowledge. I can do this. I can figure it out. And it's like, it was also realizing it's not going to be perfect. That's why I liked keto too, because it was like, I've got my 4-to-1 fat to protein ratio, my certain limit of carbs, everything was like, figured it out. And I didn't want to have to do that with anything else. And healing also is not linear. So there are things that change as we heal. And at that point, that's when I decided I'm going to stop testing my blood sugars. I already know my blood sugar is going to get higher when I eat more protein. I'm not going to, be strict about anything except for just eating in the animal kingdom, because I knew that was the most significant thing for my gut. And I allowed myself to have stevia and dairy and all these things that people are like, whoa, don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed.
Oh, guys, she has a carnivore brownie and carnivore blondie recipe that is to die for. She posted it on the little bubble things on her Instagram. So go watch. She shows you how to do it. Really creative the way you take ingredients and keep it within carnivore with a little bit of sweetener in there.
Yeah. It's ketovore and it works. I don't do anything that's going to, even my most sensitive clients tolerate those carnivore brownies. Super sensitive people, like mast cell activation syndrome, because I'm using my critical thinking and I'm including things that don't have the anti-nutrients or the properties that are going to set us back. Right. And so it's not just about, oh my gosh, that thing did not have a face, so you can't ever touch it. That's not how it works. It doesn't work that way.
You said something in your previous comments that I want to underscore here and kind of build on a little bit. You said keto was your idol. And of course, people would say, well, the ketogenic diet, it's a really good thing. How could you say that? So it's a lesson there that even some of our goals, perfection tendencies, control, could seemingly be good things, and not that keto isn't a bad thing. I've written a million books about keto. I think it's pretty awesome. But I think it, along with staying in a stressful state, that could be an idol. Over exercising, that could be an idol.
Right.
Lamenting past relationships, that could be an idol. Like, you could take this literally in every part of your life, and it's not until you give it over and realize what's going on, and that you've made it an idol, and that there are things you can color outside the lines, and it's okay.
Exactly. Even religion.
What's that?
Even religion can be an idol, you know? And because it's taking away from the relationship. It's drawing you away from who God created you to be.
Yes. Brittany and I have lots of discussions about religiosity. There's a term we both talk about, Biblians, people that claim to believe in the Bible, but they don't really adhere to the Bible or to God. And we're going to have an episode coming up soon just on some of that kind of thing. Because it's so rampant within that world as well. And people hear grace. Grace has such religious overtones to it. It is a word like that, but it can have application to us as well.
Yeah. So it's really about the heart posture and the heart motive. That's what God looks at. We hear people say, God looks at the heart, and it's true. I don't think, God could use the standard American diet to heal someone if he wanted to, just to show that he's the healer, and we can't control anything. I think that's the lesson I needed to learn.
Hey, brother, you could bestow that on me. That would be wonderful. No, I wouldn't want to eat that way. Although I see how you eat with all those meats, and you make the funniest faces when you're like eating a fatty meat. You're just like,
oh my gosh, I don't eat around people because of that. I mean, I close my eyes. Sometimes my foot will start wagging. Yeah, every time, every day. It's amazing.
Except when she's biting into an eyeball. She did do that recently.
Wow. That was so good.
Oh my gosh. No, it totally popped in my mouth the last time, and that was hard.
Yes.
It was weird. Yeah, different.
Yeah, it was watching you do it because I lived vicariously. I'm like, yep, that's appropriately gross enough. I'm not doing that. So, but I admire you for doing it. Anything else we haven't hit on this topic that you want to say?
I just want to encourage people to not be afraid to reach out. I think that we can receive grace through, by other people, but from a friend. And if you just need someone to talk to, that's a good way to receive grace. So you don't have to, if you struggle in your prayer life, remember that God works through other people. So reach out to someone that you trust and say, I'm struggling with this. I feel like I have to be perfect, and I just need someone to help me with it. That's what you should do. Reach out to someone. My mom is there for me for a lot of that now, and so are you. So that's what friends are for. Yeah.
That's what friends are for. In good times and bad times. All right,
I'll let you sing it.
I'll be on your side forevermore.
Yes, yes.
Give me a look right about now and go, all right, that's enough.
I'll just let you keep going. I'm good. I love it.
That's what friends are for. On that note, we should probably end this show. Guys, that is Rebecca Farmer. Go follow her over on Instagram, Tailored Keto Health. She is a great friend of mine. Really happy you're in my life, and happy you co-hosted today on One Step Deeper.
Thank you so much. It was a true honor.
Yes, thank you. So episode 24, Grace Over Perfection for Empowerment. Hopefully this gives you a little more insights of maybe your tendencies to want to be in control and to do things perfectly, and you've made that your idol. Like let that linger in your head. and let those idols go. Give them over to God, just give them up, and you'll find you'll get true power from that. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com is the website. Go check us out over there, you guys. We do debut these episodes on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword, One Step Deeper. You will find the show. It also airs on Mondays over wherever you listen to podcasts. My favorite one is turning on ALEXA and saying, play One Step Deeper podcast. It's kind of cool. It just comes on all over the house. As well as Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. We are on social media, One Step Deeper, pretty much wherever you see Facebook and Instagram. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So go check it out, you guys. And Rebecca, thank you so much. Brittany will be back next week, you guys. And she was so upset she couldn't be here this week. I'm like, sweetie, you just lost a family member. You've got to give yourself grace. Let go of that perfection. She's like, I've got an obligation to the podcast. I'm like, not when you lose somebody the day before you're supposed to record. It's not going to happen. I wouldn't be here if I lost my mama the day before I was supposed to record. I'd be like, yeah, we're going to have no episode this week. So, but thank you for filling in. Thank you for what you are in my life as a good friend. And I am grateful for you.
Thank you so much. So grateful for you.
OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.
Hey guys, you know I'm all about healthy nutrition, and I have a brand new product I want to tell you about called Athletic Greens. This is not just a multivitamin. It has 75 essential elements that you want to have in your diet, from probiotics to greens to digestive enzymes to prebiotics. There's so many things that they pack into the Athletic Greens. The main reason why I love them is it puts it all in one place. Like literally you'd have to a la carte buy all of these different supplements, and they do it all in one package. So if you go to athleticgreens.com/Jimmy, and you can get a special discount if you go there, and the discount is you get a free 1-year supply of their vitamin D as well as some of their travel packs. Go check it out, you guys. athleticgreens.com/Jimmy.